All right, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Florida Prison Talk. I'm your host, Easy Win, and we got a good one for y'all today. I got my girl Kendra in here. She's gonna speak about her time in the Florida Department of Corrections on the women's side. It's a good one for y'all, man. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and hit that notification bell. Without no further ado, we're gonna get right into it. All right, before we get into the Florida Department of Corrections, how was your household growing up? You had your mother and father? How was that worked out?
I had both my mom and my dad. They weren't together. I grew up in the household with my granddaddy, my grandmother, my dad. But my mom has always been an active presence in my life. I had both parents. Not in the same household, but I had both parents.
Okay. And growing up, did you go in any juvenile programs? Did you do any alternative schools?
No, I was a good kid for the most part. I mean, a little trouble here and there in school, a couple fights, but always had good grades. Never ever brought home a D or an F. I've always excelled in school. I've always, everything has always been on the ups with me. Never been to a program. Never really got arrested as a juvenile.
Okay. So I like that. It's a good segue. With that being said, what led you to the Florida Department of Corrections? Just briefly.
Yeah. Basically, I was in a relationship with a guy. You know how guys do. They're going to play both sides of the game. It ended up getting ugly between me and the chick. Things got out of hand.
Gotcha. Okay.
Ended up with 8 years in prison.
And that's what I'm saying. How did you get 8 years? That's a long time. Did you take it to trial? Did they offer you a plea?
They offered me several pleas. They first came with 5 years. I turned it down. They came back at me with 18 months. I turned it down. On the actual day that I started the jury selection, they came to me 6 months in the county jail, 5 years probation. I attempted to sign. I was reluctant because who wants to go to jail? So I was a little reluctant. So I attempted to sign the plea. The judge wouldn't accept it at that time. I guess he could tell my reluctance. So he went on threw the plea out. We went to jury selection. I went to trial.
Oh man. Okay, so when you was fighting your case, was you fighting it from the county or was you free?
I was free. After my initial arrest, I did like 20 days in jail. I ended up getting a bond reduction, and my dad and my granddaddy came and got me.
Okay, all right. So boom, you got the 8 years. You started the Department of Corrections. You go to the reception center.
I didn't go to the reception center. When I went to prison, the reception center was built, but it was like it was a camp at the time. It wasn't actually. It was right before they turned it to the Florida Women's Reception Center. So when I went through RNO, I went through the Lowell Annex. I went to the concrete jungle. I came. And
that's what I'm saying. What's going through your head? You've never been to prison. When you got that time, what's going through your head? Are you nervous? You scared of the unforeseen? You don't know what to expect? How are you feeling?
I think I was kind of numb because everything was like so surreal to me at the time. Like when I walked through RNO and when they first pull up the gate and you see the yards and you see the guard towers and you see the other inmates out on the rec field. I was looking around like it's a world inside the world. It's a world inside the world, man. It's crazy.
And Lowell is the max, right?
When I came through, I went to the Lowell Annex. That is the maximum security prison, the level 7 security prison. That's where they house death row.
Wow. So how long, when you got to Lowell, how long was you at Lowell for?
I stayed in RNO for 2 months. Then they put me on the main unit, which is a lower custody prison. I stayed on the main unit maybe another month. Then they shipped me all the way to Gaston. I was all the way up in Gaston County next to the Panhandle.
Okay, and how was Gaston?
Gaston it's nice. It's nice. That's they're privatized, so everything was different there. The food was different, the staff was different, like everything was different there. It was so nice. It was just too far from home.
Got you. It was really
It
far.
was
Okay.
so nice. It was really nice. That's the only prison in my sentence that I went to that had stuff going on, like was doing good things. Well, not really, because I did go to faith based. So, but as far as trades, they got cars. They had so much stuff that you could do. Like you could really stay busy at Gaston.
Okay. And what trade did you take up at Gaston? What did you do when you got there?
When I got there, I signed for cosmetology, but then I also signed for faith-based because I was trying to get closer to home. So before I could get pulled for Cosmo, I got shipped off to Hernando. Okay. Because it's like a long, like everybody want to take trades. It's like a long waiting list. And me just starting out and my sentence being fresh, it's always like, and they going to order like how much time you got. So even if somebody came after me but had less time than me, that would still boot me back some more. Okay, I got you. Okay. So when you got to prison, when did it hit you? Like, what was the first? Okay, and speaking of the women's prison, the men's prison, they fight over gambling. These guys stab each other, locks and socks. What would be the biggest in the women's prison? What's the biggest thing you guys argue about? What does it go down about? What's the big thing? Women are territorial. When I got to prison, people was telling me, hey, listen, I shower in shower 8 every day at 5:30. I clean that shower every morning at 4 o'clock. Gotcha. Nobody at 5 o'clock, nobody should be in that shower. Like women are very territorial. They don't play about their girlfriends. Okay, that's big there. They play about their girlfriends. Just like in the man prison, they got the locks. They got the shanks. They got the shanks too. Yeah, they got the shanks. They got the shanks. They got it just like the men's prison. Wow. And the other female inmates who was around, what kind of time did they have? Was you around lifers and people that had 30 years? It was so crazy when I got to Gaston. When I got to Gaston, they put me in a transitional dorm. And the transitional dorm is people with, a year or less to go home. And I'm like, I'm in here and I'm seeing people. It kind of depressed me because I'm in here and I'm just not starting. I'm fresh in my sentence. And I'm in here with people that's going home every day. But I was trying to look through it, look at it through spiritual eyes like, God, if it's time for me to go, just let me know. So I'm like, I looked at it as a blessing to just say, you know what, these girls, he did it for them, he'll do it for me too. So I looked at it as, okay, they going home, I'm going to be going home too. At that time, I was fighting my case, so I was more so hopeful that, something good was going to come through for me. Right. That's the thing about it. When you're in a situation in jail, you always hopeful, right? Like you're always thinking an appeal is going to come through. It's always hopeful. You're always thinking of that. So, I mean, we ran bank accounts dry trying to fight to get out of there. I fought to the bitter end. If I could file it, I filed it. I'm like, Dad, I need a lawyer for this. Let's get a lawyer for that. And he was on board with everything. Like him and my mom and my sisters, they patched up on everything and made sure that even though I was getting denied after denial, if it was worth the fight, if I felt like it was a fighting chance, they did it for me. They made it happen for me. Got you. But this is what keep on getting me. 8 years. That's like a decade. My thing is, did you see how was your mindset? Like every day waking up to 8, like how was you like, man, this is a lot of time. Was it really depressing for you? Or was you depressed in there? Or did you try to when I first got to prison, me initially going to prison was the hardest time for me. For one, my son was 4 months old. Wow. My son was 4 months old. So me leaving an infant child was the hardest thing for me to do. I was so hopeful that, I got this paid attorney, he's, well known, he gonna make something shake. I'm not finna do 8 years. Right. So in the beginning, it was hard because I was away from my son, but I also had that hope that, something was gonna happen for me. That's right. And okay, let's talk about the support aspect. Did you have a lot of support while you was in there? Commissary, all of that? My family stood 10 toes down. My daddy, he made ultimate sacrifices. My mom, she made, my sisters, oh my God. My friends, I got 2 friends. When I tell you they rode that wave from day one, Victoria and Precious, they rode that wave from day one. Those my friends for real. That situation taught me who my friends. I had other friends. I had Dominique and Brittany and other friends that they came in and out. I'm so thankful that they didn't forget me, that I was thought about enough for even when they came around and or sent a letter or sent some money or whatever it was. But my main support system, my grandfather, my grandmother, both of my grandmothers, my mom, my dad, my sisters, even my little brother. Oh my God. Both of my little brothers, it was just amazing how they came. My little cousin Tynese, my cousin Mike, my cousin Tashan, like we all banded together, and like they what kept me together. Like they kept me strong. My auntie Bernice, I could go on and on. Like my family, my immediate family, my loved ones, my hearts. They really went hard for me. They went hard for me.
And that's business also.
They made me as comfortable as I possibly could be in prison. Wow. They did that. Got you.
Man, that's awesome. And okay. So with that being said, so did you see a difference in the people that didn't have support? Was those inmates different? The ones that didn't have support, was there a difference between the ones that had support and the ones that didn't have support? The one that didn't have
absolutely. Right. One thing about the system, if they feel like you ain't got nobody on the outside that's gonna stick up for you, that's gonna come through and that's gonna ask questions, that's gonna open their mouth, they gonna try you.
Okay.
They gonna try you. They gonna try you. They gonna do whatever it is they want to do. Why not? Ain't nobody gonna call up here. Ain't nobody gonna come up here. Ain't no lawyers gonna come. Try them. Do anything to them, because who cares? Who cares?
Right.
If they know that you don't have a support system, they'll try you.
Got you. And a big thing I hear about these in the women's prison, I'm going to go with this, just to change a little bit of where we're going. I hear about this in the women's prison. This is the biggest thing I hear about. I've seen so many different interviews about the corruption. What's up? Is that a regular thing with the guards and the inmates, the sexual relationships? Is that regular? Like, do you remember the first time you witnessed that?
That concrete jungle, that long annex. That long annex is a beast.
Yes, it is. I hear
a man's world of wicked. Like that annex is something else. It's something else. I'm talking about from the administration on down.
Wow.
From the
so everybody's with
it.
Everybody is with it, with the shit, the bullshit. The administration, they all tied together, huh?
Absolutely. It's a mass cover up. Them girls, they really go through it. Like I never personally had to go through it, because for one, they know I'm gonna be able to open my mouth. My family in visitation every couple of weeks. So they know you got, it's just certain, like I said, if they know you ain't got nobody, you ain't getting no visitations, you can't use the phone, they gonna try you. They gonna try you. Who you gonna tell? Who you gonna run to? You gonna run to the administration, but they just as crooked as I am. So they gonna believe me. They gonna throw you in confinement, and the officer still gonna be walking around.
Wow, that's crazy. Oh my God. Okay, so out of all of the prisons you've been to in Florida, the women's prisons, Lowell is by far the worst one?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Let me tell you, Lowell had its benefits, and then the benefits of Lowell is the inmates, even though the guards run the prison, the inmates run the prison, we could do anything over there.
Okay.
Everything that was going on out in the world is going on the annex.
Okay.
So that was a benefit to it, because it wasn't like you was really in prison. Like you knew you was in prison because of count time. You knew you was in prison because the food, like things like that, you couldn't go home. But other than that, it was nothing you couldn't get your hands on.
Okay.
It wasn't nothing. I mean, you run around, you do whatever it is that you want to do. You get caught, you suffer the consequences. But for the most part, like I said, they just as crooked as everybody else, and everybody covering up for everybody. So you got most of the guards that's just gonna turn their head to whatever it is you're doing.
Damn, that's crazy. And doing them 8 years, what kind of inmate would you say you were? Were you a model inmate? Did you have what kind of inmate were you when you did your time?
In the beginning of my sentence, I was kind of mad. So, and then when you get in prison, when I entered the gates, my mind went to show no sign of weakness. Anything that happened, anything occur, I just nip it in the bud right then.
Okay. And
I
how
just
long?
nip it in the bud. I just nip it in the bud right then. So therefore, and when you do, it works. Because when you do, they have a newfound respect for you. They don't try you. I was also around a lot of old timers. So on the NS, you know, you got your Albertina Flukas, your Julia Rollins. Like, it's a lot of old timers over there that have been in prison for 20 plus years. That, you know, they see young girls, they try to talk to them and, you know, mentor them. And a lot of them come with a pure heart. But then you got some of them too that have been down for a long time. They see you in prison, they see you get money, and they just want to be your prison mama so you could buy them something from the store. But I wasn't that girl.
Gotcha.
I wasn't that girl.
And how long did it take before did you get any altercation while you was in prison for 8 years?
Several. In the beginning, like my first 3 years, like I said, when I came from Gaston, I went to faith base, ended up getting kicked out of faith base. Because you can't get in no trouble there. So I ended up getting kicked out of faith base. That's when I went to the reception center.
Okay.
I stayed at the reception center for 2 years when I left the faith base, and then I ended up going back to the annex, and that's where I EOS from.
Okay.
I've been in every female prison except for
Homestead. You've been on
Homestead. Every year I would try to be good for a whole year so I can sign to go to Homestead and be closer to home. And my mama, I don't know, she done heard war stories about home. You don't need to go down there, but I had my mind made up. I was trying to go to Homestead. So I'd be good all year because you can't get no DRs for you to sign for a good behavior transfer. As soon as I sign for the transfer, I get in a fight. I cuss offside. I refuse to work. Like every year, I did it every year except for my last 2 years. I tried it 5 years in a row. Didn't make it.
And as far as the altercations and stuff go, what would be some of the things you would fight about? Other inmates, what would be some of the things you guys would fight about? Are the females more?
A lot of times you fight about your respect. Oh, Jesus. Like I said, women are territorial too. And they feel like you got the girls in there that think they boys. That was my whole thing. Like, nigga, you a girl like me. Like, let me show you, like, me and you women alike. Like I say, they be fighting about their girlfriends. I never got in a fight about no girlfriend or none of that, but it was just, for me, it was a respect thing for me. Like, don't disrespect me, don't little girl me. I don't care if what time you clean and shower. If my ass is in it at Joe's shower time, you gonna wait.
Right.
I'm not respecting none of that. I never got institutionalized to the point where I wanted to do this at a certain time every day. Like, no.
Okay, got you. And I heard you say earlier, Julia Rollins.
Yeah,
she's been locked up for a long time. I did a video on her. She's been locked up like 40 years, right?
Yes.
What kind of inmate is she?
I done seen Miss Julia on both sides. When I first came to prison, everybody, they would talk about her because she had been there for so long, and then they'll call her Auntie Julia. So one day I walk by and say, "Hey, Auntie Julia," I'm not your damn auntie. And then I ended up moving in the dorm with her, and I would do hair. I would be braiding the girl's hair, and one day baby, do something to my hair, make it look nice for me. And ever since then, she loved me. She'll still cuss me out, but she loved me. And when I ended up coming back to the annex, I run into her again. They moved in my dorm after she got out the infirmary. And she was a change. She wasn't cursing no more. She just told me like God had really come down on her, and she a beautiful soul now. Nothing like the Julia Rollins I met in 2013. She done turned over a new leaf.
Okay, and a person that's done that much time, are they very routine? Did she like things a certain way?
Very. Okay. She is the type of person. She likes stuff a certain way. Don't walk through her bed area. Don't touch her stuff. Don't touch her. If you pushing her wheelchair, don't push it too fast. Don't push it too slow. Like she's stuck in her ways. Yeah.
Yeah. And how about race in the women's prison? Is race a factor?
Not really. Not really. Like, I don't know. It seemed like every camp I went to, except for the reception center in Hernando, the main unit, the annex, the gas stand, like they have predominantly Black officers. And you know, them our kind, and it be the other kind that they try to be nasty to us. But for the most part, like they weren't just nasty to us though. They was nasty to everybody. Unless they had a little something going on, then you know, of course.
Right. And as far as the race go with whites and blacks, because Black people, it's more of us than it is anybody else in the prison system, right? And women.
To me, when I looked around, it was way more whites and Hispanics.
Somebody else said that also.
And to me, when I looked around, I didn't see just Black people, but I seen a bunch of Caucasian and Hispanic women.
I swear that's the same thing this girl Heather told me. So that's the same thing she told me now, because I was surprised to hear that, because when I interview the guys, it's always saying that it's more Blacks on the compound than it is white. So okay, with
the women, it's kind of different. It's a bunch of white women, a bunch of Hispanic women, right? Hispanic, yeah.
And this is another thing about the women's prison, and I'm just trying to get an opinion from you. All the women you've been around with the cases and stuff, the majority of women locked up in prison right now, and correct me if I'm wrong, is it because of another man?
The majority of women that are in prison, it may not be because somewhere in the equation is a man.
Yes. Okay, that's
somewhere in the equation is a man. Whether the man had them doing drugs, whether they was fighting over a man, whether it was the influence of a man or being in an abusive relationship, somewhere in the mix is a man.
Got you.
For the most part, yes.
For the most part, okay. Did you ever serve any time in confinement?
I went to confinement so many times. I only went to confinement fighting once. Because you know, us girls, we'll go in the bathroom, we handle up, we come out, and it's just that. Just don't get caught.
So when you got a problem with another female, y'all don't do it in the open, like with a guard.
I mean, if it gotta go down right there, then that's where it gotta go down there. But for the most part, meet in the bathroom, because nobody really don't want to go to confinement. That's right. The worst place to be. But for me, it was more of the disobeying a verbal order or disrespect. Like that, most of the times I went to confinement was for disrespect on the official, disobeying a verbal order. They tell me to do something, I don't want to do it, I'm just not gonna do it. You talk to me any kind of way, they'll cuss you out, and then you cuss them back out. Now you got to go to confinement.
Damn.
But you're not gonna talk to me any kind of way. Just show me my cell.
That's right.
Because like I said, if they try you and you allow them to try you, it's only going to get worse. So you might as well just nip it in the bud, go do your 30 days, come back out and have a newfound respect. Because guess what? Now he know you're going to cuss his ass back out, so he ain't going to bother with you.
That make a lot of sense. And speaking of confinement, how many DRs did you, hold on. I'm trying to get, okay. How many DRs did you get while you was locked up?
I think I got like 11 DRs, wow, 11, 12 DRs. I was averaging at 1 or 2 a year. I went in 2 back. Some people go to jail, get out of jail, go right back. Some people got 25, 35, 45 DRs in 2-3 years time. A lot of them going to closed management. Like I did pretty good for my sentence.
Got you. And with all the corruption and stuff going on, with all the guards and stuff doing this and doing that, the administration, everybody's in tune together. Was there any good guards there that did their job like they're supposed to? Were there any good guards?
I met so many God-fearing officials. I met some good officials too. Not all of them are bad. Maybe the majority of them, yes, but not all of them are bad. I met some officers that prayed with me when I was going through a lot of stuff. One of the hardest things I went through while being incarcerated was losing my grandfather. I had officers, they're not allowed to touch you, but I had a sergeant come and listen, this is the point of contact. Everybody put their hands right here and really hard down, prayed for me. When I was at Hernando, that's a faith-based compound. It was 2 sergeants, Sergeant Black, Sergeant Brown. They love my child. They love my daddy because they was always coming to visitation. Like they know my son. My son grew up in that visitation with them. So like if they see me and they know something is off, they gonna pull me out. If I'm at work and they see I'm having a bad day, they gonna pull me out before I get myself in some trouble. Like I had some good guards even when I was at the reception center, like several, even some of the male guards, like not even on a disrespectful level, they would look out. They would make sure, you know, and even just sometimes just take the time out to just listen and, you know, just intervene before something happens. I done met some good ones. Not all of them are bad.
Okay, and I hear a lot of people that go to prison, especially for the time you did, they speak about, you know, PTSD and mental. Did prison have a effect on you mentally?
So the majority, especially on the annex, like it's so many women on the annex that are on psychotropic medication. Like those women are zombies at night. Like you wouldn't believe, like they take so much medicine, like they are literally zombies at night. Like it's crazy. And for me mentally, I thank God for a sound mind. Like I was always in my right state of mind. Like, you know, a couple times I done tried to play crazy to get what I wanted to do. Cause sometimes, you know, that's another little trick that I learned in prison. When you don't want to go to jail, you get ready to cuss them out, you call the psych. Call the psych and cuss them out. Cause anything you say after you call the psych, they can't hold against you. So go ahead, call the psych. Call the site when in your right state of mind, and go ahead and do the doobie. Cause when the site get undeclared, it's over for you. So just go ahead and
that's right.
Go ahead and handle it.
So listen, as we get ready to close here, I got two more questions. When you first came home from prison and back into the civilian world, did you have any habits? Did you have to get used to stuff like the disrespect from people out here, or people looking at you, or people in your personal space? Did you go through that?
I told you when you in prison, you got that mind frame of show no weakness. Like you have to be strong. That's the only option that you have in prison, is to be strong. So when I came home and I came home to my family and my son, like I still had that mind frame of show no weakness, but I could these are the people that love me, the people that have been there for me. Like I don't have to have my guard up with them. I don't have to constantly be paranoid, for lack of better words. It's not really paranoia, but it's just that you're gonna double think everything and everybody, because that's how it is in prison.
Man,
but I mean, I say that, but even in prison, it was some women that really broke me down. Like I met some of the realest people, the most wonderful people. Like I met some not so good people too, but that's not my place to judge. But I really met a lot of real women with real situations that have been through some real things. I was around women that were doing real time. Like when I came into prison, one of the first people I met was Buki Lee. And she had been in prison for 15 years, since she was 15 years old. And she was like, I came in whining and crying like I can't do it. And guess she sat me down and she said, "What's your name?" And I told her, and she said, "How much time you got?" I said, 8. She said, "You ain't even in the double digits." She said, "I've been here since I was 15 years old. I'm 30 years old now."
Wow.
She said, "Hold your head up. We ain't doing none of that. We ain't doing nothing."
Got you. So I basically go into my next question as we close. Everybody always speaks about the bad part of prison. Prison's bad. It's a messed up place. What would you say the good part came from prison when you were there? What good did you get from it?
For me, even although I was raised in the church, my grandmother, she always made, I already had, let me not say I had a relationship. Let me say I knew God. I knew who he was. I knew his capabilities. I went to church. I was religious. I'm going to say that. And me going to prison helped me really grow a relationship with God. I now have a relationship with him. Like I know him intimately now. Like on a whole nother level than the 21, 22 years that I was out free. I've never experienced anything as spiritual and as intimate as a relationship that I grew to have with God while I was in prison.
Wow.
Nothing.
That's a good
because when I went to prison, I lost everything: my child, my place, my car, my friend. I lost everything. That was the only thing. My faith was the only thing that they could not take away from me.
Mm.
So, in having that, and growing that intimate relationship with God, it took prison for that. I had to be set aside for that, because during this whole ordeal, even when I was out on bond, I went to trial, lost trial, still got right back out. And you couldn't tell me I was going to prison.
Gotcha.
You couldn't tell me that.
Mm.
So when I finally went, oh, it's real now. It's real now. It was that game over point at that part.
Man.
And I was stripped of everything except my faith. So I stood on that my entire time. Not only did I stand on that, oh man, I could go on and on.
Keep on going. It's a good way to close. It's a good close. Keep on going.
That's the deepest part for me, because I seen so many young girls in there lose their mind. Lose their mind, planning their feces, going crazy, legitimately crazy. It was so many girls in there that would cry themselves to sleep every night because they didn't know where their children were. And I was fortunate enough to be able to call home at least once a day, every day that I did, I was able to call home. It's a lot of girls in there that don't have nothing. The state only give you one bar of soap, one roll of toilet paper a week, don't have no commissary. I was blessed to never, every week on a rotation, my mama, my daddy, my sisters, my cousins, I had an abundance of everything that I needed. I never lacked anything. That's why I always blessed other people, because without having that family support, without having money, like, the system is built to destroy you. It is not built to rehabilitate you. So you got to have that. You got to have that strong mind. You got to have that relationship with God, because if you don't, you're not gonna make it. You're not gonna make it. I was working in the firm. You know how many inmates I seen die that didn't have to die?
Wow.
His short time was going home within days one time, months one time, begging these people for help, and they won't help him. And I'm in there, no medical experience, no medical knowledge, in there trying to help these women and watching them die. The hardest things that I ever went through in prison.
Wow.
Not worrying about what was going on out here, because my family had out here covered. I knew that my son was straight every day of the year. It was seeing what was going on in there that was tearing me.
Wow. That's deep.
Yeah.
That's the part you said, when some of these other little young girls that had no idea where their kids were.
It's bad. It's bad. Then you got some of them, they on the case plan, but they so worried about their girlfriends and not trying to get shit from their girlfriends. They don't want to work their case plans to get their kids back. I met some of them kind too. So it's a balance in the mix of everything. But oh my God, I done listened to so many stories. I done prayed with so many women, because it was a lot of women that came and prayed with me. So I paid it forward. Not even because of that, just because of when I was spiritually growing in God, that's what he was telling me to do. So I had to be obedient to him.
Got you.
And he told, even when I went in my very first time in confinement, I had a real heart to heart with God, because I just couldn't understand that. I just couldn't understand, why did I have to go through everything that I was going through? I had a suffering savior. Look what everything Jesus Christ went through. Who am I that I can't go to prison, or suffer the consequences for my actions, or I can't go through a little something?
Man, you speaking. Go ahead, you got it. Yep.
So, it was all a learning experience. Like I said, I had to go through everything that I went through to make it to where I am now. And no, I'm not perfect. Because I came out of prison and kind of went a little backwards.
And that's what a lot. Did they have any programs when you came home? Did they have any programs in order for you? Like, did they have a place where you go check in for job training? Did they have all of that for you?
I came out they had me a reentry specialist. Anybody like with over 5 years, I think they come out, they assign you a reentry specialist. But I came out during COVID. So when I came out 2 weeks later, everything shut down.
Wow.
And so I came out the beginning of March. 2 weeks after that, everything was shut down. So I done seen my counselor a couple of times, my reentry specialist a couple of times. She assisted me when I came out with doing a couple things. I ended up getting my first job. I wasn't even out a month. I got a job. That's another thing. Like a lot of these women, they come from prison and they feel like it's nothing they could do, that their record is gonna hold them back. I got a job. When that job ain't work, I got another job. Now I have a government job with a criminal background.
Ooh, that's what's up.
I have 2 jobs. I have my own place. I have a brand new car. Like nobody can tell me that God is not able and capable, because that man, I go through it like everybody else. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
I'm still learning and growing. And like I said, it's some things that I have going on in my life right now that I know that God is telling me to release and let go of. But he's working on me, because I can't do it in my own strength, because the heart is a powerful thing. But other than that, that man's showing out for me. He's showing I lack nothing. My son lacks nothing. To the point where I'm able to make sure that others don't lack nothing. Like it's just I'm grateful. I'm blessed. Because guess what? I did 6.5, almost 7 years off an 8-year sentence.
Wow.
And I'm a sound mind. I have so much joy in my heart. I'm not angry. I'm not bitter. I don't hold no hatred, no malice in my heart for nobody. I operate in love in all that I do. And all that I do, because that's what it's about. That's what's important to me. My family.
That's right.
My child, my stepchildren. That's what's important to me.
That's right.
That's what's important to me. So I try to make sure that I'm doing the right thing, so that generational curses, they are real. I come to break that. In the name of Jesus, I come to break that. My child will not suffer anything or go through anything that I went through. I come to break that. That's
what's up. And this last thing we're gonna leave with. And make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. We got my girl Ken in here, man. This is Kendra. You spoke fire, good ending. This is by far one of the best interviews. This last thing, what would you tell that young girl out there that's free right now? Give her a few words of advice about how real the prison system is. Let that young girl that's watching this video right now, talk to her real quick and let her know about the prison system and how bad things can be.
Love yourself enough to never lose yourself. Love yourself enough to never lose yourself for nobody. Like, say no. It's okay to say no. You don't have to validate yourself to nobody. Not a man, not a friend, not a family member. It's okay for your peace to not be around people, to let people go, to walk away from people, places, and things. Love yourself enough not to lose yourself.
And listen, and we're going to end on that. I appreciate everybody tuning in to another episode of Florida Prison Talk. I appreciate you, Kendra. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming in again.
It was good to be here. Y'all
have a good one.